If you are sick of people telling you how to get out of debt without showing you how, telling you to get out of debt, not telling you how to get out. If you're sick of people telling you to get out of debt, but then not showing you how, this video is going to be a big help for you. Here, like I did in a previous video, I'm going to give you a scenario, but this time I'm going to walk you through the solutions that I'm using personally to solve this problem. So the situation, I've been in my house for 22 years and I now owe $5,000 more than I bought it for. I'm sure a lot of you are in this situation, even if you haven't lived in your house quite as long as I have. Maybe you've lived in your house 4 or 5 years and you recently did a cash out refi to try to pay down some more expensive bills. Interest rates were great. So basically, you keep resetting this clock and you still owe money on your house and you feel like, okay, this is one of my bigger bills and I'm never going to get out of it. And on top of that, the student loan repayment moratorium is in place, but it's about to restart. And with inflation, I have no clue how I'm going to pay for anything. So I found that I kept eliminating what Robert Kiyosaki calls bad debt. I love that. Bad debt versus good debt. Good debt earns you money. Bad debt costs you money. That's kind of simplistic, but read his book if you want a more nuanced definition. But that's essentially how I classify it when I'm talking to my kids. So like credit card debt would be bad debt. Good debt would be mortgage on a rental property that's generating positive cash flow every month that far exceeds what your expenses are. Real cash flow, not just imagined and depreciation and tax stuff. Okay, I mean like actual money going in your bank. Bad debt would be a car payment. You can argue with me all day. It's a depreciating asset. It's costing you money. It's bad debt. So I kept eliminating bad debt only to have new bad debt pop up or a new expense pop up or something with my kids pop up, a new expense. And so whenever I felt like I was getting ahead, I was either running in place or just slightly going back. And I'm sure most of you can relate to that. Telling me to cut expenses didn't help. I live very frugally. We live within a very strict budget. The issue was not what we were spending there. It was the new things that came in. Like we had our cars paid for, and then one of our cars had a major repair that was going to be like $4,000 or $5,000, and the car had like 160,000 miles, maybe 100, maybe more than that. And it was a 2005, and this was 2017. My husband was preparing to go into his master's program in nursing, and he was not going to be allowed to work for about 2.5 years, because in this particular program, you don't work while you're in school. Some master's programs you can, this one you can't. So I was going to be supporting the family. We needed to know that we had reliable transportation, what our expenses were going to be, and all those things. So we had something like that happen. Then we had where another car got totaled by one of our daughters. And so we were down a vehicle and all this kind of stuff. So you know what it's like. There's always something, whether it's paying for private school tuition, or you have a baby and all the expenses associated with that, whether your kids get involved in sports or in dance or whatever. And it seems like every time you start to just get a little bit ahead, you slide back. Okay, so my biggest debt source, and yours probably is too, is my mortgage. So I found a way to pay that off faster. And I've put the calculator in the description to this video. It's phenomenal. It was mind-blowing. I had been searching for a way to try to think flexibly about money. And I talked to you guys about this a couple months ago, where I was like, okay, well, on the one hand, if you pay for a vacation on your credit card and you spend $5,000, you get points back and you get all these perks, and you get 30 days or, until the credit card statement is due to pay it off interest-free. But if you take $5,000 out of your ATM to make a down payment on a rental property, it's a cash advance, and so you have to pay like 20% interest and a 3% transaction fee, and you don't get any points, and you don't get this, and you don't get that. I was like, why are we treating money differently? We've got to think different. In the midst of that, this is what I found, and I alluded to it before, and now I'm going to tell you what I did. So you can actually go to the calculator and watch the video that I did in the description below. It explains it way better. So I found a way to pay my mortgage faster, I used the calculator, I ran the numbers, I talked to the person. So when I used the calculator, there was a person you could click through, but it's not a salesperson, it's actual coach. I still like text this lady all the time and stuff. And she like is walking me through. I've texted her the last 2 days asking her questions. And she's like explaining, okay, this is what you do next, and here's your strategy here, and all that stuff. So then I try to find ways to earn more and save up for investments, because I was trying to get rid of my mortgage and my bills. I was trying to save money to invest in real estate, as I've told you guys. And I was also trying to pay off my other debts. So not just my house, not just reducing like the car payments and things like that, but also reduce my actual expenses. And what I did is I made a game of trying to assess how I would pay a particular bill using this calculator. And it's a way of reworking your debt, your mortgage in particular, to pay your mortgage down faster. So most people, instead of taking 15 to 30 years, pay it off in like 7. What we found out, because we were basically doing everything but the restructuring because we didn't know it existed, and we're going to have our mortgage paid off in like 2 years because we were already doing so many of the things. So it was kind of mind-blowing. At the same time, we're going to be able to pull money out to invest in real estate properties. So what I started looking at is, are there ways to invest in real estate where I don't actually need the cash flow? Can I live my life in such a way that I don't need the positive cash flow of the real estate, so I can use that to drive down the principal of that investment faster? So when I do need to tap into the cash flow, it's available. So do you see what I'm doing there? Because there is inflation and we know things are getting more expensive right now. But at the same time, real estate prices are going to start coming down because of the interest rates. Well, using this strategy to pay off my mortgage faster also frees up additional money that I can use as a down payment on a house. I also started looking into creative financing, like seller financing and things like that. If you're interested in that, put it in the comments and I'll be sure and talk about it. But because I'm living more frugally, I don't need the extra cash flow. So I set up a real estate deal where I have a few hundred dollars positive cash flow per month after considering things like vacancy rates and capital expenditures, fixing things and those kind of things, that I have positive cash flow. But instead of taking that as a draw myself, I'm going to put it back into paying down the principal on that note and then refinancing when rates come back down. So I have real positive, big cash flow on a small investment. Okay. So then I made a game out of this. I've told you before that I created an asset. What I was doing is I was buying, it was person-to-person lending, and it not like individuals. I did it through a company. And so I was loaning little bitty $25 increments to hundreds of people. And as they were paying things back, I was reinvesting it. And I kept doing that over and over because I didn't need the money. And I had put in enough money that I could spare, because I have had people default, obviously. And people are late and people aren't making payments and things like that. But I still have positive cash flow coming in. My car is going to be paid off in the next 3 weeks. I just transferred the last bit of money over to pay off my car. So now, since I don't need to pay my car with that anymore, and I've got my other debts paid off except for my mortgage and our student loans, we've got everything else is going to be paid off the end of this month, partially by using this strategy. I'm now just reinvesting. So I know that's a lot of information. I'll go into this a bit more, but we are spending less. So we don't need those other streams of cash flow, even with the inflation. And yes, it impacts us too. But we are cutting back on splurges as necessary to stay within our original budget, even though individual things cost more. So we have not increased our grocery budget, even though groceries cost more. We just buy fewer groceries. So we can stay in that area, so that these other 2 assets that I have over here, are simply going toward the lending is going to building up the asset. The note on the real estate is going to drive down the principal, which will increase the spread because I don't need the cash flow on either thing right now. But because of the way I have them set up, should I need to turn those faucets on, I've already built in the margins that they'll give me actual real money, hundreds of dollars a month to help offset any kind of need. That's what I mean about thinking creatively about how you approach things. So I kind of made a game out of it. If you'd like to play along, sign up for the calculator below, and it will ask you for your email and things like that. But it's well worth it. It's yeah, I love it, and I appreciate you supporting the channel by clicking on the links that I have. Some of them are affiliate links, some of them aren't. A lot of times they're not, but sometimes they are, and it just helps people know that I'm driving people over there, and it benefits me and helps me with the cost of running and maintaining this channel. But if you have questions on more specifics of what I'm doing, keep watching, click the bell, because I'm going to go into even more details about how I creatively structured these things so that you can think about things that you might be able to do to help set your family up as well. Hope you got something out of it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.